Michael Jerryson, what do I say? You would be amused at that. That's Michael Jerryson was not very successful at being ordinary. He tried, he just was not very good at it. Like, he went into the Peace Corps, and what could be more ordinary than that, right? And so he went to Mongolia, and then when his buddies were out, doing little farm things and working out in the fields, I mean, he did those things also, but he was also noticing that there were some remarkable transformations going on in Mongolia, particularly regarding the rise of the Sangha, the Buddhist monks, and their new role in the political association of that country. He couldn't just stand by and not do something about it, so he began to study it, and he ended up writing a book about Buddhist Sangha in Mongolia. How ordinary is that? That's not what an ordinary Peace Corps person ordinarily does. He's just not very good at being ordinary. So they came to Santa Barbara just to be an ordinary graduate student. That didn't really work out. He ended up winning prizes. He wanted to get awards for scholarship. He ended up doing research projects and getting an award for his teaching as one of my teaching associates at Santa Barbara, and the students raved about it. Ended up doing projects with his professors, including me. That's not ordinary. Most graduate students don't do that. Michael was just not very good at being ordinary. So then when he went to doing his dissertation research, he took what should have been a very ordinary kind of project. Because Michael was always interested in Buddhist studies, and what he particularly liked about Buddhism from the social perspective was its nonviolent role. Because we all know that Buddhism is a religion of nonviolence. It's maybe one of the first things we know about Buddhism. So when he went to Thailand to do his research, he knew that there was a violence breaking out in the southern part of the country between Buddhists and Muslims. So Michael wanted to go there to see what the monks were doing to try to bring peace. That was the ordinary project that you would undertake to try to ordinarily understand why Buddhism is such a peaceful religion. The problem is that when he got there, he discovered the monks weren't peaceful at all. They had guns underneath their robes. They were out fighting. They were in the midst of the warfare with the Muslims. This is not ordinary Buddhism. Even though it's not what Michael expected to find, or even what he liked, he had this inquisitive mind. He wanted to know, what was it that made these people do this? What was it that makes Buddhism like every other religious tradition in the world at heart? It has its violent side, it has its non-violent side. And so he began to study that. And as I wrote in an article after Michael's death, that after Michael Jerryson, we will never look at Buddhism the same way. We'll never study the Buddhism the same way. We'll never make these kind of simplistic assumptions about a tradition without understanding the complications, without the various ways in which religious traditions intersect with society and the ways in which people use religion and the way the people do, because at heart, they're people. This was not an ordinary project on Buddhism. He's changed the whole field as a result of this investigation. That's not ordinary. Now, if you think this is an ordinary family, you should get to know them better. I won't say anything more about that. You know them as people. You know what I'm talking about. And when Michael came to Youngstown State University, he just wanted to be an ordinary professor, but he hasn't been an ordinary professor at all. I mean, to be a distinguished professor at this point in his career, and to affect so many of his students and his colleagues in the way that we're going to hear in a few minutes from many of you who would have some words to say about Michael and how Michael has affected you. And the way that Michael has not sat still in the face of what he sees as being injustices. He's not afraid to confront the authorities, the administration. You all know about that. This strong believer in social justice, in gender equality, in racial equality, in equality of all sorts of people, in understanding the equities that people deserve with an institutional framework, and to challenge authorities when they need to be challenged. That's not an ordinary role. That's not ordinarily what professors do. So, I submit to you that Michaeal was never the ordinary guy that he would have liked to have been. In which in many ways he was. And one of the wonderful linguists many years ago said, you know, what I liked about Michaeal, what attracted to me about him was he just seemed like such an ordinary guy. You could so easily get to know him. Just like anybody you get to know in the street. Until he said we got in the classroom. And then he changed my mind. He changed my life. He opened my eyes to things that I never knew about. So Michaeal Jerryson, in everything that he taught, and everything he studied, and in all the lives that he touched, he made the ordinary